This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. Talking the stories that are shaping headlines, plus those that make you go,
Hello everybody, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Majlis, the show where we talk about stories shaping the news headlines. And this is Ahmed Dawood with Abdul Karim Hanif and Rania Saadi. Today's Wednesday, September 9th. And we've got some pretty big updates from Sharjah and from around the world as well. The one that's got people talking, the extension of distance learning in Sharjah schools for 2 more weeks. We'll talk about the statement that has come out by the Sharjah Emergency Crisis and Disaster Management team, what they said, why they're doing this, and whether or not it's possible it will be extended further. So stay tuned for updates on education, plus all the big headlines from around the world.
Absolutely. Before we go around the world, we're going to continue the discussions on Sharjah and what's been going on here. Besides the extension for the distance learning for schools, Sheikh Sultan bin Mohammed bin Sultan Al Qasimi, Sharjah Crown Prince, Deputy Ruler and Chairman of the SEC, chaired a meeting of the council at the Sharjah Ruler's office yesterday, and the council reviewed multiple issues on its agenda concerning the Emirate of Sharjah's various affairs, and they issued a number of resolutions that would support the development work of the Sharjah government at all levels and sectors. This is a conversation not to miss. It's coming up in a few minutes. We're going to go through all those decisions and resolutions that the Sharjah Executive Council came up with.
Yeah, and the big development in the oil market has been out there because it is quite a troubling time indeed. We're seeing prices of oil falling below $40 a barrel. Brent crude is trading currently at $39.57, and we're going to be discussing what's been leading that and what's been causing all of the fluctuations in the prices of oil. And we're going to be talking a lot about BR, their award, environmental awards, that's coming up later on in the program. So that is something that we can all look forward to, how the young environmentalists have been doing, because yesterday we had a discussion with the chairman of Sharjah Electricity and Water Authority. He left us by saying conservation begins at home, and we've all got to take those baby steps, and great way to support the young environmentalists through that award ceremony. So lots to discuss this morning.
Indeed, Abdul Karim. Plus, after 8 o'clock, we'll be talking about how pharmaceutical firms have signed a safety pledge with regards to the leading coronavirus vaccine candidates that they have been developing. Big update as far as vaccines are concerned is that one major vaccine trial that everyone was looking forward to around the world has been put on hold due to, quote, safety concerns. What does that mean? Stay tuned. This is the Morning Majlis.
Stocks, docks and barrels. This morning's Big Business Recap.
Big business recap indeed. As of 7:50 in the morning here in the United Arab Emirates, prices of Brent crude are trading at $39.57. For the first time since April that we've seen the prices of oil drop below $40 a barrel. Even though the demand and the prices picked up slightly, it is still 30% lower than the global average for the year. And what we're seeing is a couple of points have been leading to these drop in prices. Saudi exports to the United States have been their lowest in more than 3 decades, and down to an average daily of 177,000 barrels per day from 1.3 million barrels per day in April. So it is quite low at the moment. Saudi oil imports into the US has seen lower still at some 264,000 barrels per day, which would be the lowest since 1985 as per the estimates. What triggered this off was also Aramco reduced prices to Asia for October shipments by $1.40 a barrel, which is 50 cents below the regional benchmark. showing signs that there is weakening demand. But it is going to be very interesting to see how things fare, because 17th of September is a big meeting again.
Absolutely. 17th of September will be the OPEC Plus meeting to review the cuts. But yeah, one of the factors leading up to this is obviously the coronavirus infections that are rising in India, Great Britain, Spain, and several parts of the U.S., where the infection rate has not really come under control for so many months now. And so obviously, therefore, the rebound in illnesses could weaken the global economic recovery and sap fuel demand.
Yes, indeed. And what Saudi does, this cut for prices of the oil it ships to Asia, that's something that is closely watched and sets the tone for the global market. Now, oil analysts are saying that the oil price move is a clear sign that the market has serious concerns about the future outlook for oil demand. The International Energy Agency is joining that growing chorus of voices who see that oil demand recovery stalling out. Their director says it doesn't seem like a massive stock draw seems to be happening yet. We are not seeing a robust pickup in refining activity, and jet fuel is a big problem.
Certainly is. And what we're seeing is the OPEC Plus alliance to make a record. They made record cuts in production, which have helped propel the prices from the lows that were witnessed in June. The crude prices have more than doubled since the April period, but then obviously they still remain 30% lower this year. But one aspect was compliance with the OPEC Plus production deal. In August, they started easing the record cut by 2 million barrels per day. As Russia's oil production rose by 5% from July to reach 9.86 million barrels per day. But certain countries, such as Iraq, who have denied reports that it would seek an exemption from the deal, said that they would be looking at using the OPEC Plus panel to allow it to be offered a longer time window to compensate for the lack of compliance instead of by the end of September. So the Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee, which means every month to assess the compliance and the market situation, they'll be meeting on September 17. It is expected that they'll be talking about that in greater detail on the compensation that certain countries who were not complying with the production cuts as part of the OPEC Plus alliance. They'll be discussing what to do next. But very interesting to see in terms of demand for oil and how it's going to be shifting. But Saudi Arabia had been saying that they are expecting that the prices should rebound. Aramco's chief executive says he is optimistic about the recovery of oil demand in Asia, seeing it almost back to pre-crisis levels. It's going to be very interesting to see how that happens, particularly in the second half of the year, which is expected to be more robust in terms of oil demand than the first. Well, stay with us on the morning Majlis. Up next, we have the world of news headlines, and we shall return right after that, continuing the discussions right here on Pulse 95. And we'll be talking a little bit more about Sharjah's humanitarian gesture, all about literacy. Stay tuned to Pulse 95. We'll be right back.
This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the morning Majlis. It's the morning Majlis.
Continuous humanitarian gestures and efforts from our beloved Emirate. Her Excellency Sheikha Budur bint Sultan Al Qasimi, Vice President of the International Publishers Association and head of the Advisory Committee of Sharjah World Book Capital of 2019, has issued a directive to restore and develop several libraries damaged by the devastating explosions that happened in Beirut last month. Now, the Sharjah World Book Capital Office will be leading these efforts across 3 libraries affiliated with As-Sabil, which is a non-governmental organization founded in 1997 to promote public libraries in Lebanon that are free and open to all. Now, the work will entail extensive renovation of the Monot Library, which suffered major damage, including improvement of the library's internal and external environment, as well as supply new equipment to upgrade the Bashura and Gitawi libraries.
Yeah, and this is an important aspect of humanitarian aid here. When you have communities such as the ones in Lebanon who've been ripped apart by the blast and by the economic crisis and by the coronavirus, having a sense of cultural heritage, of culture, it has the potential to bridge divides, provide a sense of continuity as well as an identity for people to cope with difficult times. And Sheikh Abudur has acknowledged this and commenting on the initiative. She said restoring libraries and cultural centers are as important as supplying humanitarian aid. As we stand by people who lost their homes and businesses, we should not forget how vital the cultural role played by Beirut's libraries, art galleries, and institutions has been, not only for Lebanon, but the entire Arab region and the world.
Yeah, it's so important to have public libraries and, having those 100% free educational resource centers for every member in the community, and having a place for people to come and exchange ideas, even if you're going there to read a book and be on your own or work on your own. So different to a coffee shop where you could be a bit more focused. It is a community space, and they're so important to having. And Her Excellency Sheikh Abudur said that restoring libraries and cultural centers are as important as supplying humanitarian aid. We hope more local, regional and international efforts and initiatives would follow to help the revival of Beirut's cultural scene. And she said that they call on fellow institutions to prioritize aiding libraries and cultural centers as part of their humanitarian efforts. There are books, paintings, musical instruments that need shelter and care in order to continue enriching the lives of the Lebanese people. It really is a fantastic gesture by Her Excellency Sheikh Abudur bin Sultan Al Qasimi, Vice President of the International Publishers Association and head of the Advisory Committee of Sharjah World Book Capital 2019. And we've seen how popular Lebanon's cultural scene is. They've been known to be one of the most broadcasted communities, societies, and really the forefront when it comes to films, dramas, arts, and music, and really incredible effort here by Sharjah.
Certainly, and this development would hopefully help the Lebanese people continue their march towards education, enlightenment, and get a sense of hope and identity and a determination to realize their dreams despite the difficulties surrounding them.
Yep, exactly. And this is why we do know in terms of libraries and why there are benefits over in the United States. Just to give our listeners an example, libraries provide the crucial service for the poor and homeless people. Not only do they offer a free refuge for those who need shelter, but each morning, public libraries, when they open their doors, they become shelters, learning centers, employment centers for the most underserved population as well, and for myself and on a personal opinion as well, I've been using the public libraries here in Sharjah and across the United Arab Emirates. When I was completely a freelancer, let's say, I used to go to libraries to work and chill. Most of my friends and people would find it amusing that I was in a library, but I found them better than a coffee shop, because in coffee shops you're obliged to buy a beverage and relax, but in a library, that's just a place to be, really. In terms of getting your work done, you're there with other fellow people who are also working and reading and enriching their minds.
I remember a saying by my grandmother.
Oh.
Yeah, she said, there was an old saying. They said, Egypt writes, Lebanon publishes, and Iraq reads.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So Lebanon, they're also there. They're publishers.
Around that.
Yeah.
Well, very important to the publishing industry indeed. And we've seen a large number of Lebanese companies and publishers actually take part in the Sharjah International Book Fair. And we're hoping that this gesture is going to invite and urge other international donors to follow suit and support and uplift the Lebanese cultural scene. Well, stay with us on the Morning Majlis. Up next, we shall be talking about a number of big developments, particularly when it comes to pharmaceutical companies. But the forgotten big drama, Brexit, is back in the discussions. What's happening? Let's talk about that up next here on the Morning Majlis.
This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
We've got the latest on the search for a coronavirus vaccine. A group of 9 major vaccine developers have announced what they describe as a historic pledge to uphold scientific and ethical standards in their search for that vaccine. And the firms include Pfizer and Merck, who said they would only apply for regulatory approval after the vaccines went through 3 phases of clinical study. And this development comes amid global debates about the safety of vaccines made this year, some saying that certain countries are rushing the development of their vaccine as well.
Well, yeah, going back to Pfizer, actually, Pfizer and German firm BioNTech have predicted that they can have a COVID-19 vaccine available for regulatory approval by the mid of October or as early November. And that is according to BioNTech CEO. He said that it has an excellent profile, and he said that he considers this vaccine near perfect, and it has a near perfect profile. Now, Pfizer and BioNTech are bidding to offer 100 million doses for their vaccine candidate by the end of the year, and up to 1.3 billion doses in 2021. Now, he thinks that regulatory approval for the vaccine will be provided quickly, given that it's showing up well in trials. He said the candidate had elicited strong antibody responses in both young adults and the elderly with few side effects. Just to give you some enthusiasm.
Yeah. Well, we're hoping for these vaccines to be developed, and AstraZeneca was one of them. And it's really funny because we were just talking about it yesterday with Donald Trump saying that we're going to have a vaccine as early as October.
As October, yeah.
Well, that's just kind of backfiring at the moment, but... yeah, it'll be very interesting to see where we go with it, and everyone's really hoping that this vaccine comes out very soon. But when we talk about the safety pledge, are we looking at the efficacy to be above 50%, or do we have to give it more of a realistic timeline as opposed to just saying, okay, October, khalas, we'll get it done, get it out?
Yeah, that's a great question. And they did state, the World Health Organization, that the efficacy of the vaccine has to be 50%. And clinical trials take a long time to conduct. You have to wait for the participants to develop symptoms of COVID-19. A certain proportion of those participants has to do that. And whether or not they develop it, quote unquote, quickly enough depends on their socioeconomic status, where they like to go out, their certain habits. That can either protract or shorten the waiting period as far as the stage 3 clinical trial is concerned. The big thing about this development, the pledge they signed, is it supposedly aims to resist the politicization of vaccines. It's a bit of a hot topic at the moment. The WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus urging countries to resist vaccine nationalism and ensure wide, equitable access to a COVID-19 vaccine, and letting the development take its place organically, naturally, and safely, and not put things like re-election or having your country first in the fore.
Yeah, and looking at other countries, such as China, for example, their firm Sinovac has given thousands of their families, thousands of employees and their families, the COVID-19 vaccine. and they had actually said that an emergency program was initiated for those at higher risk were given those vaccines to help alleviate the suffering, because it was for a specific group of people who were deemed to be high risk of exposure, including medical personnel and border officials. And the company says so far everyone, all those who were offered this emergency use vaccine, had agreed to receive those injections. So very interesting to see.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting to see the emergency use authorization and how vaccine candidates around the world are employing that emergency use programs to get those delivered to people who need it the most, vulnerable individuals as well as healthcare workers. Looking at other major vaccine developments around the world, we're also seeing a major vaccine trial that has been paused following an illness, Rania.
Yeah, AstraZeneca actually said yesterday that it paused global trials, including large late-stage trials of its experimental coronavirus vaccine because of an unexplained illness in a study participant. Now, the vaccine, which was developed with the University of Oxford, has been widely seen as one of the most leading global candidates against the COVID-19 pandemic, or the COVID-19. And the suspension of the trial kind of dims prospects for a potential year-end rollout. Now, AstraZeneca said it voluntarily paused trials to allow review of safety data by independent committee and was working to expedite the review of the single event to minimize any potential impact on the trial timeline. So what happened is the nature of the illness and when it happens were not detailed, although the participant is expected to recover, which first reported the suspension due to a suspected serious adverse reaction. That's all they said. They did not specify what really happened. But there's a difference between adverse reaction and side effect. It's not a side effect. This is an adverse reaction because it happens when it's kind of like an unintended pharmacological effect that occurs when a medication is administered in the right way, but it's unexpected. Mm-hmm. That's what happens. Side effect is when that's the effects you find for normally in a medication leaflet. It's expected, it's known, it's secondary unwanted effect that occurs anyway during drug therapy. So what happened here? Adverse event.
True. And what we can hear from international media is they're saying that this is the second time the Oxford coronavirus vaccine trial has been put on hold. Such events are routine in major trials and it happens anytime a volunteer is admitted to a hospital when the cause of their illness is not immediately apparent. So it is going to be very interesting to see where are we with the search of the vaccine. Donald Trump says he wants the vaccine available in the US before the election. But those comments have raised fears that politics may be prioritized over the safety in rush for that vaccine. Well, stay with us on the Morning Majlis. Up next, we'll be talking about resumption of international travel. Oman, another hard-hit country with the COVID-19 situation, says it will be opening up its borders by October the 1st. What's happening? All this will be discussed right here on the Morning Majlis.
This is Pulse 95. Pulse 95. It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Hello, good morning and welcome back onto the Morning Majlis. We're talking and celebrating all things environmentalism because we are going to be speaking to the outreach manager at BIA because they have awarded the young and creative minds for their passion, for their dedication to the world of green initiatives. 26 winners across 500 schools in the United Arab Emirates were awarded prizes across 3 competitions worth 243,000 dirhams. Let's welcome Hind Al-Hawaidi. A very good morning to you.
Hi, good morning.
Well, Hind, it's a pleasure to have you on air with us. This is the Morning Majlis on Pulse 95, and we would like to be enlightened on how to be very green because these young minds have certainly done a very impressive job. Have they impressed you with their work and what they've showcased?
Yes, very much. Actually, I would have to say that year after year, we're very impressed by all the creativity and innovation that comes up from the school communities that are participating with us. The program has been running for 10 years and they never cease to amaze us.
Yep, and for 10 years we've been celebrating this, and I'm sure there'll be lots of success stories emerging from those who've won the award previously. But talk to us about the theme this year and what was the purpose of having the awards. Sadly, this time we had to do them virtually.
Yeah. So basically, every year when we launch the competition, we try to put a very specific theme, something that's a challenge, I would say, within the UAE, and then just push and encourage the students in order to find solutions for the problem. So for this year, we had the theme, the preservation of marine life and water resources, because it's something that's very current, very important, and we wanted the students to find solutions for this very important topic.
And what were the main criteria that you followed?
So basically, we are very specific when we launch the competition. We try to make it easy for the students to follow all the rules that we have. So we segregated by categories. So we segregated according to grade level. So you would have from KG till grade 2, best environmental, storybook, and song, because it's something that's very relevant for the younger kids. And then you have from grades 3 to 5, best environmental science experiment, because we want the students to actually be involved, to have a hands-on experience. From grade 6 to 9, you have best environmental film, because we like to also encourage the students to go out there, film the movie themselves, be the actors of that film themselves. And then we have for the older group of the students from grades 10 to 12, best environmental invention, because they're very creative and we try to challenge them in order to find solutions in the order of an invention. And then we also have a category for outstanding teacher. And for all of them, there are very specific criteria in terms of the project itself, in terms of delivering the message, in terms of documenting their process. So it's something that's very specific that we ask the students to work on.
And Hind, this is such an important topic, the one that the competition is centered around, the preservation of marine life and water resources. Could you talk to us about the importance of this topic, how you got those students to care about it? Why should we preserve marine life and water resources?
What we started noticing, and I think it's something that's very challenging, it's a major plastic pollution, I would say, within the water resources and the marine life, which is affecting the quality of the water and affecting the marine life and species that you have there. So we're causing a lot of, the fish population to be endangered, and it's something that's very important in order for us to find a solution for it. So we try to encourage the students to come up with an invention that would be able to solve this problem, and then shoot a film that shows the impact of this problem and why it is important for us to be taking an action right now. And we were very impressed by the response that we got from the students. They can be very creative, very innovative in the solutions that they came up with in order to tackle this problem. It's something that they need to focus on. Every year, we put a challenge out there that's very important, and we're amazed by the response that we get from them.
Yeah, talk to us more about the responses. What's one thing that stood out to you, perhaps, from the students?
I would say there were a lot of important projects that we received, ranging from films, ranging from inventions. Like one school actually shot a film that literally looked like a movie. I was watching it and I was amazed by the directing, the soundtrack, the way the movie was shot. It actually looked like I was watching an entire movie. The quality was amazing. And then we also had an invention from a school that is basically involved a lot of coding systems, and it's amazing to look at and then hear the students talk about it, because they're talking to us and saying, we worked on this, we created the codes ourselves in order to create an invention that would be able to tackle the problem. So they were very creative and innovative this year.
Well, really, it's great to see how things have been shaping up. But do we have any success stories of some of the past winners? Where have they moved on to, and have they been doing any specific projects with BIA or in the same industry?
I would say within the same industry, maybe not specifically with BIA, but what we notice is that they would actually take part in the competition, and then they would start to lead their own initiatives, whether it was within the UAE or even outside the UAE as well. So they do continue with their, basically the process, because that's what they're actually passionate about. Whenever they participate with us in the competition, it's not just about being in the competition or just about winning the cash prize at the end. They're actually passionate about it, and they actually want to make a difference. So it's not really just, taking part in it for the sake of winning something at the end.
It's amazing. Another thing is, that I'm sure there's going to be a lot of listeners out there thinking, "Oh, I want my children to take part in this and be part of this program." So talk to us about how can the students take part? Is it something that the schools have to organise, or can individuals take part on their own?
For this year, actually, we changed the competition a bit. Every year, we try to enhance it and develop it in a way just to keep up with the demand, and then to get the feedback from the schools. And as you know, with everything that's happening around the world, the previous competition was focused on group projects mainly, and then you do have the individual categories as well. But for this year, we decided to make the competition on just an individual basis, because we know it would be tricky, I would say, because of all the restrictions that we have, the social distancing rules. So we don't want them to face any issues while working on their project. So it will be on an individual basis. So students from grade 6 up until grade 12 can take part in the competition in different categories, and then it will be on an individual basis. We launch the competition, we send the emails from ourselves, and then also in collaboration with the Ministry of Education. So we do communicate with the schools, and we do let them know we're supposed to launch it within the next 2 weeks, the new cycle of the competition.
Well, certainly is something to look forward to.
Something to look forward to, indeed. Hind, as far as the messaging to the general public lately, what would you tell the listeners about the importance of these initiatives and in the environment and sustainability?
I would say it's very important to start from a very young age, because as you know, it's very easy to shape the minds of someone who doesn't have any perceived notions, I would say. So it's very important to encourage the students to take part in such activities, and for the parents also to encourage their kids to take part in these, because if they start very young, the environmental knowledge and awareness just builds with them over the years. So we encourage them to start at a very young age and try to make a difference within the world.
Well, Hind, thank you very much for joining us this morning. It is an absolute pleasure to have you on air with us, and hopefully this is going to encourage more us adults as well to be a bit more environmentally conscious. And we look forward to welcoming you in the studios at some point down the line in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All the very best. And this was Hind Al-Huwaidi, the Senior Outreach Manager at BR, talking to us about the Environmental Awards for the Young Environmentalists. Right here on the Morning Majlis, it's time for us to take a bit of a breather, and we shall return right after that, continuing the discussions on the Morning Majlis, this time about the world of clean energy, electric vehicles. Uber has got a big plan. Stay tuned to Pulse 95.
This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome back to the Morning Majlis. And we're talking about the new Xbox console. Microsoft has confirmed the price and release of the smaller digital game-only Xbox Series X. Microsoft said the machine would be, quote, the smallest Xbox ever. And that's pretty interesting. They said the machine is set to cost $299 upon release. It is £50 more than the lowest priced version of the firm's existing Xbox One range. The company has yet to give a launch date or price for the larger and presumably more powerful Xbox Series X. So the key difference between the two is that the upcoming Series X would have a disk drive, while the smaller Series S would only play digital games.
Yeah, they leaked this through a commercial that gave fans an insight into the Xbox Series S's features, speed, and performance. And yes, the new console is the smallest Xbox ever, nearly 60% smaller than the Xbox Series X. And the advert promises an all-digital gaming experience and up to 120 frames per second. And again, after this leak, Microsoft officially confirmed the price shown in the advert. In the US, the Series S will retail for a more affordable $299. That's approximately 1,100 dirhams. 1,100 dirhams. And it is expected that the Xbox Series X, the larger of the two variations, will retail for $499, which is equivalent to about 1,833 dirhams.
Was it a leaked document that revealed it?
A commercial.
Leaked commercial.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at Twitter, and Xbox had tweeted an image of that awkward monkey, which is looking left and right, thinking, oh my God. And that just goes to show what the scenario was. And a lot of people have been tweeting about it.
Yeah.
They're saying, can confirm the Xbox Series S is a tiny next-gen beast that also easily fits into a backpack with plenty of room to spare. And they're saying it's got higher frame rates, richer, more dynamic worlds, next-generation gaming performance in our smallest Xbox ever.
And the memory also.
No.
The commercial also revealed that the two variations will have a core memory of 512 GB, but will have the option of adding an external memory drive as well.
10th of November, as they're saying, there's going to be announced. Well, something to look forward to for the world of gaming fans. Birthday present ideas whenever you've got them. This is the time when you can be out in full force.
Yeah, and this is also going to be interesting as far as the rivalry between Microsoft and Sony over the new consoles that are coming up. And the pricing of the PlayStation 5. There's going to be a digital version of the PlayStation 5 as well. But Xbox has made the first chess move here, so to speak, with that $299 price. And this is a big factor for buyers here, especially amid a time where people are more likely to save up money. Choosing which next console they'd go for, price is a major factor here as well. So it'll be interesting to see how Sony prices its own consoles, how that fares compared to the Xbox, and how the two try to one-up each other as the weeks go by and the more information is revealed.
Yes, for sure. It is indeed. And something that we can all look forward to is the world of gaming and new consoles coming up. It's something to lighten our moods up, really, after what we've seen is a whirlwind roller coaster of a year. 2020 certainly has been. It's the forgotten patch of our lives. It is something that has changed the world, how we perceive it. We were just talking about it yesterday, how the tragic incidents of the 11th of September 2001 were the ones that shaped our lives and how we viewed the world. But this generation will certainly view this one at a much larger scale, because this has impacted us right on our doorstep and our neighborhoods. Well, stay with us on the Morning Majlis. In fact, stay with us on Pulse 95. There's lots of musical entertainment to keep you moving and entertained and keeping you good company throughout your day. But for now, the Morning Majlis will head off. We'll be back again tomorrow morning, bright and early. But it's been a great show, and we look forward to keeping you entertained tomorrow morning. Absolutely. And if you want to catch our conversations that we had throughout the show, you can type in Morning Majlis on any of the podcasts of Spotify, Apple, or SoundCloud. And if you didn't get to see us from 7 to 10 live on YouTube, you can still do so, because we will be uploading episodes on YouTube. So you just type in Pulse 95 Radio and look for the Morning Majlis episodes, because we will be uploading it right after the program. Yes, and thank you all for tuning in and participating via the text lines at 4215. See you all tomorrow at 7 a.m. Stay safe and stay tuned to Pulse 95.
Pulse 95. You're listening to Pulse 95. Pulse 95.
It's Pulse 95.